Get ready for an unforgettable episode. We have one of our favorite healing practitioners back on the podcast, Rebecca, also known as Akashic Bec. As her name alludes to, she's certified in reading and being a clear channel of the Akashic Records so that you can gain access to the priceless and life-changing information held within. What you may have not thought about is receiving information from ideas, businesses, homes, land, and more. Bec is also versed, passionate, and certified in numerology, which you can use similarly. Who knew? So we had to try it and also talk about it with all of you. We got to hear from the records of Seeking Center, no less, plus dig into the numerology of her being as well. We have so much to share. And speaking of numerology, it's been a long time since we discussed this insightful modality. So we'll be giving you a bit of a refresher on that as well. And Bec has her own way of using numerology, which we're excited to discuss. Let's get going on what is sure to be a mind-blowing conversation. Hi, Bec.
Hello. Oh, it's so good to see you today. We have so many questions. I wanted to share you again with everyone. Because you have so much wisdom. And we love how you can just deliver something that seems very out there and you bring it down to earth for everyone. So let's start at the very beginning, okay? So if people who are listening right now and didn't hear the last episode, can you just on a very broad level explain what the Akashic Records are?
Yeah, I'll do my best. I just want to say it's so great to be back. Thank you for having me, ladies. And as far as what the Akashic Records are, it is, as I describe it, a metaphysical database, and it contains the history of our souls. Every person, place, and being has an Akashic Record, and it's a way to delve into, like I said, the history of the self, of the soul, the journey that you've been on, and help you to understand yourself just on an intricate level. That's as broad as I can make it.
That was perfect. And how do you access them?
Being in my own records, I was told that there's no right way to access the records. It's also something that you just have to be ready for. Like you're on a soul level, you just have to be ready for. And that's why I encourage people to dive into their spiritual gifts, because that's how you're going to be able to translate the information that comes through. So as far as how, a very popular method is the pathway prayer. There was a book written about it by Dr. Linda Howe. She's an OG, a pioneer, if you will. And so her method is probably the most commonly used. But honest and truly, like I said, I don't think there's a right way, as long as you approach it with reverence and respect, because it's a gift. It's a sacred gift from the universe to us. So as long as you approach it in that way, I feel you're going to be welcomed into it.
Yes. And setting the intention, that is what you want to receive, is the best and probably easiest way to start for any of us, even if we want to try to access our own records.
Absolutely. Yes. And I will say, if you try to access your records and you feel like you're really not getting there, don't get discouraged. It's a practice. It's something that it's a relationship really that you're cultivating.
That's a great point.
And one of the things we didn't realize until we talked to you was that you can access the Akashic Records for ideas and businesses and places and land, like all sorts of things, anything that has an energy associated with it.
Pretty much everything has an Akashic Record. Places, land has Akashic Records. If you think about it, it makes sense. It's part of Mother Gaia. And there are areas that were used for specific things, and the planet is billions and billions of years old. She definitely has layers and volumes to it, but each space of land tells its own story. Trees have Akashic, birds have Akashic Record, and it also goes for businesses, which I know we're going to talk about the reading we did for yours, but it's an entity, right? It's something that has energy to it because people put intention and energy into it. Mm-hmm. And most businesses, they have a starting date, right? They have a starting date and an ending date, and all of the ideas, the energy, the connections, everything that is significant to that business is going to be contained within its record. So that is, yes, that is something that you can access, and it can help you actually try to navigate your business in this now moment and going forward. It can help you look and see things that you've done in the past that maybe led you to where you are now. It's actually really fascinating. It personifies businesses and places and things.
Definitely. And how have you used that in your own life? And I also just want to remind people that most of the time people use Akashic Records to find out more about themselves and why they're here in this lifetime, and really to find that record of their soul. And if you are interested in that, we've done a whole episode with Bec on that, and we'll have the link to that in our show notes. And then we'll have information on how to get in touch with Bec for yourself. But I just wanted to make that really clear. That's how most people think of them. And that's why it's more unusual to think of it this way. But it is such an important way to use this resource that's out there for all of us. And so how have you used them in your own life and to help others already in this way?
I like to use my personal records is just for my own guidance. It gives me a sense of groundedness and understanding that sometimes when you're all up in your headspace or you're all up in your ego, you sometimes can lose sight of what's important. Sometimes you can lose sight of maybe there's something you're missing. Maybe there is a component that could help you move forward. And so primarily I use my records as a source of connection for myself and my guide, because I have such a strong bond and relationship with my guides that I've developed over time by accessing the records, and two, helping me to also navigate like where I'm at, because there are, of course, previous lifetimes that you are able to see and access. And through that, it lets me know where I'm at, because there might be some information from a past life coming forward and it applies to where I'm at currently. And that kind of puts things in perspective. So I guess if I had to sum it up in one word, I do it for perspective. And it just helps me to move forward, because like I'm always leaning into my intuition. I'm always leaning into my gifts and how I translate things around me. So sometimes it gives me confirmation that I am on the right path. It just gives me some much needed perspective that I maybe otherwise wouldn't get. Because sometimes when we rely on people outside of us, which it's valuable, of course, but sometimes we're just not getting everything. We're not getting that one snippet that we absolutely crucially need. And so that's a big way that I use my records on a regular basis.
I know one of the stories you were telling us was actually on your property.
Yes. Okay. So I found out through someone here in my local community that a little bit about the history. I've always enjoyed history, but I found out some history about the land where, where my neighborhood is built. And we actually had local historians and historians from just the state come and visit our land and the surrounding area. And one day, of course, we have paranormal activity in my home and in my land, which I'm not afraid of it anymore now that I understand. But there was something that I was like, I wonder if I could read my land's records just to find out access. And I will say that the first couple of times that I tried, I got a big no. I was like, okay, so that's why I say don't give up initially. Sometimes it's just not ready. It just wasn't in a space for allowing me. And then finally I was able to, and I understood. I was like, oh, okay. And it helped me to know what my land needs, know what kind of energy I can bring to the space and make it happy, make it more peaceful. If there's anything that really needs to be something that can, as a living, breathing human on behalf of spirit, I will be happy to do that.
It's just great to remind people that even as they're thinking potentially about buying a new home or building a home someplace, or even starting a job and really seeing if you can research when that company was incorporated, it can offer you some really good insights beyond your own intuition onto what that energy of that place or business is, which I think is so fascinating. I never would even have thought to go there, but just from an insights perspective, it's just such a great tool to have.
Absolutely. And like I said, it gives you that insight that otherwise you would have even known or even considered. It's the macro and the micro, right? It pulls you out and it says, look at all of the moving pieces, and then it hones you in and it says, look at this one little piece. That's what you needed.
And what was so interesting is you said to us, we had been getting to know each other over the last year or so. And one of the things that you said was, I can read Seeking Center's records. And we were like, what? Yes.
if you're at a really critical place where you're maybe deciding between two jobs, or particularly with us, like starting a business, having those insights about where to start and if there are any things we need to know or focus on, as we'll get to, is so important. And I also want to remind for those listening, how you work is so exciting and it's relaxing at the same, like it's interesting, but there's nothing fearful about it. I just wanted to enforce that idea because we were able to draft questions ahead of the exact things that we really.
Yeah, that's a great point, Karen. Bec, can you talk a little bit just about that prep? Because it is different. It would be the same for any kind of Akashic record reading, at least with you, but it doesn't matter. My point being whether it's for you or you're doing this for a place or a business or an idea. But can you talk about what that prep is?
Sure. I always give people a heads up, like, what to expect, what you might experience from a session or what the session looked like. And so I have a form that I send everybody, but I always encourage people to, one, set an intention for your reading. And if you want to share that with me, that's fine. If you want to keep that personal to the self, that's also fine. It doesn't matter. Your soul, your spirit, your records know what that intention is. And then prepping your questions. So whenever you're reading for yourself or reading for your business, you can't ask about other people's records because they're sacred and personal to them. And it's also important that, especially when you're reading with more than one person. So in your case, you and Karen, you both gave each other permission to do this. Permission is so important in my personal opinion when it comes to the records, because like I said, it's sacred. It's special. It's for your business. It's for your land. It's important to ask permission. It's important to ask permission of your land. It's important to ask permission for your business. And since you and Karen are like the embodiment of Seeking Center, I was able to get that permission from the both of you to access Seeking Center Record. And then prepping your questions, it's really important to not ask should questions, especially with future-oriented questions, because there is no should. Like, guides are never going to force you to do anything. We all have free will. And it's important to remember that when you ask future-oriented questions. From my perspective, I see timelines. So there are timelines available to us based off of the decisions we make, but I can't tell you what decisions to make. I can see the potential. And I think it's probably the most exciting part. I see what's there. I know what you're capable of. I know what your business is capable of. That gives you, I guess, like a format, if you will, whenever you're going into your business. I can also see people, like for your business or for yourself, people that, like, I may not be able to see everything that entails with them, but I feel information. I feel their energy, people that are significant to you, and they may be coming into your life. They may alter the course of everything and put you on that higher timeline that's available. And it's just a matter of doing the inner work, doing what you need to do in order to gain access to those things.
Yeah,
That's right.
so true. And I think that guidance around how to craft your questions and not using that word should, it's so key. I know when we were going through and creating the questions, we kept having to say, no, they have to be what, how, and why. Do not put in there. We were very disciplined how we crafted our questions. And I think the other part that is so interesting in the way that you work is before you even get to asking specific questions, the way that you enter things, you do your prayer and meditation to get into it. And then you immediately see a scene, let's say, and you start to describe that. And my point in saying all of this is that you get a lot of information before you're even getting to your questions. And sometimes that will answer a bunch of the questions that you already have.
Right.
And again, it's not like we've shared those questions with Bec at all. Those are questions that Karen and we have ourselves, however we look at them on a screen or you're printing them out. But those are questions that only Karen and I know. Bec doesn't know that before. We may tell Bec our intention overall. I think that's important for Bec and to enter the records in general, because you're entering those records together and Bec is the one that is then translating that for you. So the intention is important, but the questions are not something that Bec knows, and yet she's answering a lot of them before you're even really getting going.
I just want to add
That does happen.
what was so cool for us, and I'm sure that happens quite often too, Bec, is that as you start to go into the records, they like come to life for you. Like so many symbols, visual cues come to light that actually, as Robyn just said, really set the backdrop of the story. And you did answer a lot of our questions at the very beginning. And also, it actually triggered a lot of questions that we didn't even think of ahead of time. So it's just a really beautiful unfolding.
Yes, and validated certain things that I couldn't have even imagined would have come up. Okay, let's get into it. So we talked to Seeking Center, who is this badass goddess, basically.
Feminine, very feminine energy.
Yes. And such beautiful energy, really has this strength too. And there were several key things that happened right away. And one of the ones I wanted to bring up first was that you saw this wolf. And I would say what made that even more powerful for the two of us is that I had a recent energy healing probably a month prior. And all I saw for a lot of the session was this wolf. And I could feel the wolf next to me. And that is what you saw. So to me, it was like, oh my God, that was Seeking Center with me. The energy of Seeking Center was with me in that energy healing session that I had. So I just want to bring that up.
Yeah. And as you had also said too, Bec, like that wolf symbolically was all about protection. And what a wonderful way to start the reading with this idea that we have this spirit animal of this wolf who is silently walking beside us, but that is also protecting us as we're going into this new venture. I still get goosebumps just thinking.
Me too.
It came through very prevalent. Yeah. And I'm grateful that it validated so much for you. Like that kind of stuff makes me happy. My favorite part of my job.
In terms of just messaging for both of us as we're really trying to be very careful about all these decisions that we are making, having that be the first symbol. And then the second one was about this kite, this rainbow kite that was flying in the sky, which you said was really all about us wanting to be seen and being ready to be seen and visible to the world. That was like the next message that we received, is that we were protected, but now we're like ready to go out there and really be seen. And
it's really for Seeking Center to be seen. She's ready to be seen. She is ready for the world to see her and bring people together. And that was another part of it, and that she was coming into this world no matter what. And we get to be the stewards of bringing her in. Regardless if Robyn and Karen bring her in the world, she's in the world and doing what she can to elevate people and their lives and the world, no matter what.
Yeah. And there was also that other symbol in the kite too, I think, of just all the diversity and color that was in the flag. Because I think you said, oh, is this about Pride Month? And for us, the message was, this is about bringing together every kind of soul that's out there, every kind of seeker that's out there going to be doing for the world. So that just felt powerful.
It's so true. And also, I felt had this other double meaning of bringing everyone together, but then bringing yourself together. And those colors can also represent our chakra system. And so I feel like there's some level of that double meaning of like bringing yourself and you're aligning your energy and the energy of everyone together.
She gets it. Absolutely. And that's why it's so important too, because I'm the messenger and I'm giving you this information. I might not always know exactly what it means, but that's why I also encourage my clients to have their own interpretation of the information. It might make more sense to them in that way. It might resonate more in that way. So I'm glad that you took that from that aspect of the reading.
Those two out the door statements.
Yeah.
Exactly who Seeking Center is.
And then actually what she did was she gave you this feeling and this knowing of Pittsburgh. And it ended up coming up throughout the whole session. And you were like, are either of you going to Pittsburgh? Like, are you from Pittsburgh? And we don't really have a connection to Pittsburgh. We both know a couple people there, but not related to the center in any way. And it kept coming up. And this is to that point we were talking about when we just started getting going on this episode today of how you get certain specific information and to pay attention. So it may not make sense to us at the moment, but as soon as that ends up coming into play in the very near future, we're going to know that is important.
We're going to have to record that one.
Oh, yeah. And then the other thing that came up and related to Pittsburgh was this name. Again, you're like, I don't know why I'm getting this specific name, but you got the name Justin. And what was also really interesting is that when you got to the name Justin, you said, Robyn, do you remember? They're reminding me that when we did your session and you were asking about Seeking Center, that there's this youngish male that is going to come into our path, and that this male is going to be a significant part of what we're doing. And he is going to get the vision and get what we're doing. And whether he's an investor or he knows investors or something like that, he's important. And what came up is that this came up in Seeking Center. And we had our session months and months ago. It's not like Bec is going to remember that. It came to her through the Seeking Center to remind us. And then to say that actually there's karma with this person, and that Karen and I have been trying to do something with Seeking Center or like Seeking Center in other lifetimes, and we didn't succeed. And
That's
this
right.
is the lifetime to do it. And that this person somehow is related to potentially why it didn't work out, and they want to come back and help us this time. And so it's going to be a very significant unlocking. We'll all know right away. This person, and maybe their name is Justin, and maybe they're from Pittsburgh. We'll see.
We're asking everyone we know.
Yes, that happens too. I will sometimes get bombarded with a piece of information. I'm like, okay, I heard you the first 12 times, and it'll just keep coming. And I'm like, okay, I already told. It's funny. Spirit works sometimes.
And are you, just again, so that people listening can get it?
So yeah, it is a bit different for a business. So I see your session was symbolic, I will say. I picked up on the aspects. I mainly felt Seeking Center, if that makes any sense. And that's why I say backpedaling a little bit about when you start to read your own, highly developing your spiritual gifts is what's going to help you interpret the information that's coming through. For me, my primary sense is my clairaudience, which is hearing. And I was using my clairsentience and my cognizant clairvoyance. I was just like using all of them, and I just felt her. She was a very sensory and emotional type of energy. She was very much female type of energy, divine feminine. That's how I interpreted her.
And that's how it felt when you were giving us the messages. I felt like you were really conveying the essence of her rather than seeing or experiencing. But I just wanted to put it out there because not everybody had the chance to be in the room with us. Another thing that she shared through you was that we should be working on events as well as all of these other things that we're working on, which was so helpful because it's something that we've been hearing from a lot of people. And as we're trying to fine tune what we're putting our focus on, it was just another little highlight for us. That's something that we should continue to intuitively follow. So that was just such a nice affirmation. That's a place that we should be exploring.
Yeah. And one of the other term that she used was that Seeking Center is a safe space. And that is so beautiful and exactly what we are creating. What we are creating is a safe space. And the fact that was reflected in her words through you was so validating.
As well as she's ahead of her time. That's another thing we say all the time is that we're trying to invent something or we're trying to embody something that hasn't been done before. That was that affirmation from her. Don't worry about the naysayers that are out there that don't get it and don't understand it. She is coming into being and she's already in existence.
And it's really not tied to any old constructs. This isn't something that has been before. And so, and literally we say that all the time because it's challenging at times when you're doing something that's never been done before. You're doing something that's never been done before so that people aren't so quick to jump on board. And she really gave us the confidence and direction to keep moving forward, as she said, with blinders on and don't pay attention. She took us through a haunted house in an old park, right? And she said, don't look at the clowns. Like they're going to try to scare you, but don't look at them. And it's that level of visualization that you're going to get by having a session like that. Like a session like this we can't forget that. And so now when we're in meetings with people that seem like clowns, we're like blinders.
And just to underscore the feminine, the other thing that really struck me is that you said Seeking Center is creation versus fulfillment energy. And I just love that because it is so feminine, but it's also about the unfoldment. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. And it's what we've been really focusing a lot on. Again, as they want to put a brick and mortar vision around a business, it's just so affirming to have that as our North Star. It's all about the creation of it. It's all about the journey.
It's ongoing. It's never ending. Once you're a seeker, in our opinion, you're always a seeker. You're always going to be wanting to understand more. You're curious for life. And so that's such a great point. It's that ongoing seeking and creation. And the other thing that I just want to also stress to people, one of the questions that we asked Seeking Center was for some more clarity about, we have such a large vision and we want to know where to focus as we are growing. And several times, this is one of those other things, along with Pittsburgh, she kept saying is, where do you place the most value? You know where you place the most value, and that's where you have to go from. Wherever you're placing that value and what we feel we're able to provide, that should be also your North Star. And so you can get information like that, which is invaluable. Yeah.
And to that end, when you were talking about when you're a seeker for life, it's like you can't unsee what you've already known, what you already have
that's so good.
That's what was coming through as you were saying that. I was like, that's so true. And creation energy as well it is uncomfortable, isn't it? Because you're never going to stop creating.
You can't unsee.
I love that too. Yeah. And the other encouragement for us as we continue down this journey is you reminded us with Seeking Center to live like it's already happened. Remember that she is alive. She is in our existence already. And so the fastest way that we can grow her as a business and bring her to more people is to live that with her, that it's already happened.
And you brought up the law of assumption related to that. And Karen explained it somewhat. Can you just expand on that for a moment?
So the law of assumption, so everybody's heard about the law of attraction. The law of assumption, truly living and embodying that these things that you want to bring into fruition are going to happen. Just live under the assumption that these things have happened or they're going to happen at all times. And never doubt whether or not it's going to come to fruition.
So true. And the other thing too that I did want to bring up related to the fact that Seeking Center is something that has not been done before and to not be tied to these old constructs. And we talk about this all the time, which is why I'm bringing it up, which is to lead with your feeling and let your body tell you and lead the way, like what feels right, and not just going off what you think and what your mind is telling you or what traditionally you're thinking with your head, and you have to lead with your heart and your feeling and your body. And she was reiterating that to us several times as well.
And you'll love hearing this, Bec. Since that reading, we really have been implementing that in our meetings, where we're really starting off with the feeling. How do we feel about this presentation? How does this meeting, how does this agenda make us feel versus trying to do it the old traditional way of just jumping in and nobody really listening to each other. It's really a collaboration now, and it feels great.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. That was so prevalent in your reading, is the feeling, the emotional aspect of, because your business is highly intuitive and it's centered around intuitiveness, and people who are intuitive. And so they're like, if you want to come in here, you got to play by the rules of intuition and at the same time breaking mold.
Yeah, such good insight for us. I feel like we really know her now, and we can imagine her sitting at the table with us as we're making our plans for the future.
Yeah, that personification is so helpful and really encourage others, whether it's an idea or a business or a place, to think about doing this because it can take things to a whole other level. I really do talk to her in a different way. And now understanding her personality more and her wishes, I can have this dialogue in my own head with her. And then the fact that she's trusted Karen and I in this lifetime to bring her forward, I'm really honored because she's a fierce goddess. She's a real force. And I love that strong feminine energy and leading from the heart. It's just unbelievable to me because I feel it. I feel her. Can you talk about what numerology is and then your approach to it? Because it's a little different than other numerology readings that we've had.
Sure. So numerology, for those who aren't familiar, is the study of numbers, but not just numbers. It's the patterns, the sequences, the metaphysical properties, and the vibration and the cycles of numbers. So it encompasses than just, oh, this is the number and this is what it means. It's a lot deeper than that.
And that there is a system to what these numbers represent.
Yes. So each number, it has its own personality and different aspects to it. It has, you think about astrology, you think about what the planets mean and what the aspects of the planets with each other means. It's the same concept with numerology. And numerology actually predates astrology. So I think they got some of their information from each other. It's ancient.
It's one of those modalities too that I think is so helpful for people if they're trying to get that overlay of information from different modalities. So taking astrology and numerology together, you'll find there's so many relatables or so many things
Complement.
Exactly.
Yes.
Affirm who you are and what your life is. And speaking of, I know Life Path is part of the reading that you give in the report. Can you just talk a minute about what Life Path has to do with numerology?
Sure. So your life path is each number of your birth date added together individually. And then there's a sum, and that sum represents two things. It represents a pivotal age in your life, and it represents how to have a successful life path. Then when you reduce that number, you get your actual life path number. It's like a blanket interpretation of your life path. So I liken numerology to building a house, and I would say your life path is your foundation. It comprises about 25 to 30% of your overall numerology.
I'm still stuck on the fact that it's as ancient as it is, because I really didn't know that it predated astrology and that kind of history. That's so cool. Wow.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty wild going back and finding all of the information. But typically, I guess the most commonly used numerology system that people use today is the Pythagorean or the Western numerology. So Pythagoras, I'm sure we all remember him from school. He was a very gifted mathematician, and he actually founded a school for numerology back in around 500, I think it was 532 BC. And what was so great about it is anybody could come. It didn't matter your social status, if you could afford. All you had to do was you had to finish it from start to finish. You couldn't leave, you couldn't skip out. You had to be a devoted student to numerology, and you could come, and it was great.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I fell in love with numerology. I was like,
everybody. It was always welcoming for everybody, and you can feel that. And so how do numerology readings work with you, which is a little bit different than other numerology readings you've had?
So I do what I call intuitive numerology, and it may or may not be a thing, but it's a thing to me. So basically, I do take the information provided, I break it down. I typically, especially if you've never had a reading with me before, I break down your life path number. I break down just a couple of different aspects of your numerology, but I also weave into that my own intuitive information. So I'm basically channeling. I don't take from a template. Everybody
really different, honestly. And we didn't even know until we received your channeling of it. But a lot of times when we've done this, it's really coming from a report, but you actually create your own intuitive report. Everybody watching or listening should know that's special. That is not actually the norm. And it's super resonant. And I just want to make sure people understand that. How can people use this for themselves? And then obviously we're talking about businesses and places and so forth. But when you're using this for yourself and someone gives you their name, let's say at birth, I was Robyn Medici Miller. But then over time, when I got married, I became Robyn Miller Brecker. Well, how do you use name and then say my birth date? How does that work?
So for people who choose to change their names, like whenever they get married, or just people who just change their names, people do that all the time. You typically base your numerology off of the name that you were given at birth. So whenever you change your name or your name is changed, typically you will just add those aspects onto what you already have. So it gives you like a new layer and a new trajectory going forward.
It's like an energetic layer that you add on top of your own life path. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I know, again, people may have different interpretations of that. So I love that.
Mhm.
And then
Absolutely.
So how did it work with Seeking Center? How did you approach it?
So I took the day that Seeking Center was created and I derived the life path from there. And from there, I gave you a synopsis of what Seeking Center embodies and what it was meant to come here to do. And I did look at the sun number, which is your strengths and your weaknesses. A lot of times people, I don't know, they have a love-hate relationship with their sun number. Because there's an overlap. Some of the things that maybe your strength could also be your weaknesses, but that's neither here nor there. And then I took the name Seeking Center and I calculated the destiny number, the soul urge number, like what drives you. I don't put as much emphasis on those things as I do the life path and the sun number, because I feel like those other things are supportive numbers, if you will.
And can you do the same thing with an address if you're looking at land or a place to live? Do you just look at the street address and then how the name of the street tallies up into an overall number?
Yeah, absolutely. You can look and see what, I guess, the overall energy of a location is based off of their address. You can even look at the latitude and longitude and find out some information about it.
Oh my gosh. So how do you use this in your life? You use it all the time?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Every day, just about. So primarily, I use numerology to just help me understand what kind of themes I'm walking into. So like astrology is like a tool of prediction, as is numerology. And I just use it to see what energies I'm dealing with. I don't tie anything positive or negative to the numerology of a day or a month or a year or what have you. I just look at all of the pieces. And so that kind of helps me to prepare, maybe know what to expect, because you can never really truly know. You can have a sense, just like with astrology, you can have a sense of what the forces at work are doing. There's also, you have to consider what's going on in the collective versus what's going on in your own life. So you have to ping pong back and forth and just let you know, okay, it may not be a good time for me to travel right now. It may be better if I wait until this month and things like that. Might be better if I implement this new aspect on this day. It might be more aligned. It might be energetically more cohesive. That's how I use.
And I assume too, people come to you and ask from a romantic relationship too. You can take the numerology few people and see how they align or don't potentially.
Yeah. Because numerology, and that's another way that I encourage people to use it. It helps you to not only understand yourself, but it helps you to understand other people and maybe their quirks and their characteristics and what they value, what's more important to them, what they came here to do versus what you came here to do, and just see if you jive.
I'd like to go back to Seeking Center for a second and just to share with people just that life path number and that sun number, because the life path number for Seeking Center is it's 20/2. And what you said was life path is 2. And that operates out of emotion, intuition, and the divine feminine. When we saw that and we saw that as the description, it was just so aligned.
It was. And with that Akashic reading overlay, it made so much sense and affirmed she really is.
Yeah. And it's such a detailed report. So I'm obviously not reading all of it, but it was just that as a highlight. And then our sun number is 6. And I know you were just explaining the strengths and weaknesses. I just want to share that because it's short. It said like your strengths as a 6 may include popular, friendly, generous, community-oriented, harmonious. Let's look at all those words. Okay. Weaknesses may include irresponsible, restrictive, and self-righteousness. So interesting.
Or guardrails. And the one in the weaknesses that I recognize is perhaps sometimes that tendency for us to be restrictive, because we know this idea is so big and we tend to lean back a bit to try to restrict that vision into what is expectation of what that can be. And so along with our Akashic reading and what we heard from Seeking Center was not to do that. So it's just another way to see how it aligns. So
that's right.
That's why I say try not to take it personally. personally when I talk about sun number. People have such a love-hate relationship with that number. Don't take it personally in this, because sometimes it may not fully resonate, but you may end up seeing, okay, maybe I am this and this in some instances I like, or with certain relationships, like maybe people bring that essence out of you.
That's right. And it's very much like the sun sign in your astrology. One aspect, the sun sign is just what you show the world, but it's not all of you by any means.
Right, exactly.
And then in terms of just like you gave us like a 3-month view ahead of what Seeking Center might expect, which was really exciting since we're making a lot of big decisions within this timeline. How is that calculated?
Like I was mentioning, there's numbers that are on a collective level. Those are called universal numbers. So we have a universal day, universal month, universal year. And then we have personal days, personal months, personal year. And so I look at what the universal on the monthly basis, I look at the universal month, I look at that number, and then I correlate it to your personal number. So there's direct themes and indirect themes. So there may be something happening on a collective level that could affect you and coincide with your number, or it may not. So it's just, I throw that in there as like a potential or a possibility. You might see these little aspects dotted throughout your month, but primarily this is the number that you need to focus on. So there's layers to it, and there's always like other influence coming in and affecting your personal number or whatever number you happen to be focused on.
And it's just so right on.
I was just going to say, we're almost through June and it's dead on. Just saying. So
it's a trip. It's a trip.
Yeah.
It is.
Helpful information.
I'm so grateful.
We're so grateful. You hold so much wisdom within you, and your curiosity has led you to explore all these different modalities. Because I know we talked about Akashic Records today, and we talked about numerology, but you are certified in past life regression and hypnotherapy and cognitive behavioral coaching and trauma, and you're a Queen Gong instructor. So it's all stuff. Because what I love, and this is really, it embodies Seeking Center in the sense that you are meeting people where they are, and you yourself are a seeker and are continuing to learn as you go along and trying to learn all of these different ways of helping somebody heal themselves and live their most fulfilling life as they go along. And so you embody all of that.
Thank you.
The lightness, if you're not seeing Akashic Bec, listen to the lightness of what she is and how she delivers that information. It's, yes, you are a channel for that information, but you just offer this infusion of light and love and support as you do, which just is so received. And there's no ego, there's no judgment. There's just really that amplification of information that is so tangible and so actionable and so real. It's not abstract at all. And I think that's the thing that, especially now as we're on this adventure with Seeking Center, we just value so much. So thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for doing what you do and for consistently learning more of these things that are really helping so many, especially us.
That is so sweet. You're making me verklempt over here.
Oh, I don't know about you, but I actually can see and feel the wolf with us. I feel her with us. And as strong as she is, she's also like high-fiving. Yes, we're doing this and we're doing it together. And we came together for a reason. We were connected and from such a divine place. And we're so grateful to be on the journey with you. And we know Seeking Center is too.
And we'll keep looking for Justin in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll let you know when we find.
Hello, Justin. Are you out there?
Thank you so much, Bec.
And you ladies. Oh my gosh. Yes, I am so grateful to be a part of this and to help how I can. I know I came to be of service in some way. So I'm glad that you appreciate all this craziness that I've delved in.
It's the real deal.
So can't wait for more, honestly.
And what is she going to say next?
I hang on every word. And to find more with Bec, visit AkashicBec.com. That's AKASHICBEC.com. You can also follow her at Akashic_Bec on Instagram, and we'll have all the links in our show notes. So thank you.